Welcome back to the Instagram series called Teach Me Something. Now, today I am joined by the very wonderful Mr. Chris Payten. How are you, mate?
Awesome, mate. Awesome.
Good. Right, so let's start from the start. In its simplest form, what do you do for a living?
I'm a breathwork facilitator and educator.
Cool. So, for someone who doesn't know what breathwork is, how would you describe that?
Yeah, great question. Essentially, breathing something that we do every day, and it's something that just happens without our awareness. And I kind of put it into a simple sentence of it's the conscious manipulation of that system in your body. It's the only system in your body that you can take control over, and if you let it go, it happens by itself. So breath work is really just bringing your awareness to your breath and manipulating it in certain ways to change your state.
Mm, amazing. And what would you say, because I know there's different modalities for breath work, right? So what would you say for the complete beginner who has never experienced breath work and wants to give it a try? What would you recommend for that?
Yeah, the thing is with breathwork, there's two sides of this space. A lot of people come into it through these sort of breathwork journeys where they're quite like a breakthrough style, fast breathing section. And then there's the whole other side of it too, which is, just functional breathing and breathing well every day and making sure that you're breathing efficiently. And so it's going to change for each person, and there's no sort of cookie cutter one thing fits all. It really just depends what you're going through. So if you were someone who was experiencing a lot of anxiety, let's just say, you know, you probably don't need faster breathing sessions at the start. You probably need to learn to breathe less and breathe slow and really down regulate your nervous system.
Mhm.
But if you're someone who is, stuck in a bit of a rut and, you felt quite like numb and blocked and lethargic and all these things, then one of these breakthrough sessions would be perfect for you. And so it's really just about learning it in its entirety and then going, well, what fits the bill for me right now? What's the right choice right now? How can I use this to benefit me the most?
Yeah, it's a great bit of advice. Okay, so I want to delve a little bit deeper. So neuro, I know you're into neuroscience and biochemically, what happens in your brain whenever you change your state of breathing?
Yeah, great question. So to put it really, really simple, when you breathe fast, and particularly when you focus on the inhale more than the exhale, you'll put your nervous system into a sympathetic state. So if you breathe faster, you'll be more activated. If you think about someone who's in anxiety or they're having a panic attack or something, they're breathing quite fast. And when we breathe that way consciously, we'll quite literally do the same. We can put ourselves into that state. And then conversely, if we want to slow ourselves down and we want to down regulate and calm ourselves, then we need to focus on breathing slower and breathing out longer on the exhale. And that will put us into a rest and digest calm state. And so realistically, the breath is just the remote control to the nervous system. And the nervous system is sort of talking to the brain and everything else. And it's just this back and forth feedback loop.
Mm,
And so, in a nutshell, like breathe faster, you'll go faster, breathe slower, you'll go slower.
yeah. Would you say that slow breathing is the way to go, or fast breathing is the way to go when you're first starting out, I guess?
Depends. These
Mm,
questions are always, it depends. And it depends on what you're needing, what state you're trying to get into, maybe what state you're trying to get out of. It
yeah.
really just depends. So it's about realizing that at any given time, you have this tool to change how you feel, like really, really quickly. And you have this tool that is quite literally changing your body chemistry and the state of your nervous system within a few breaths.
Mm,
And so, if you need to be calming down, right? If you're someone who needs slow breathing, then, which is most people, by the way, people
yeah.
are breathing too fast. Then you want to be implementing some slow breathing to calm yourself down. But as I said to you before, there's a lot of people who get stuck in these like functional freeze states where they've just had so much stress and they get checked out and tapped out, and they find it hard to motivate themselves and get going. And you can use your breath in those instances. If you were just really struggling to get off the couch and do your to-do list, you can use a bit of fast breathing and you can just temporarily get yourself up and moving and back into your day. So it really it really just boils down to making sense that you just have this tool. Like you have this tool, you have this remote control, and you can use it however you like.
Mhm. So I've got quite a nerdy question, right? I was actually going
I
to
love the
ask
nerdy
you
one.
it. I was going to ask you it at the weekend, but we just didn't get a chance to. And for those of you who don't know, Chris and his partner Shani run events every so often, and just this past weekend, well, last weekend, we did one. So, well, I
Yeah.
attended your event, which was amazing. Anyway, my nerdy question. So, I was thinking about ghrelin and the hunger producing hormones in
Mm.
chemicals in the brain. Now, is there a way that you can suppress appetite through breath to dull down ghrelin and I think it's epinephrine that gets
Yeah.
released? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So with hunger, like if you want to get rid of appetite, one thing that does that is speeding your system up. So
mm,
again, like bring it back to the nervous system. So if we look at the parasympathetic nervous system, one of the things that happens in that state is digestion, improves. It's the rest and digest system. We don't really digest food, and we don't have much of an appetite when we're very, very stimulated because we're in more of a survival state where the body's not really focused on eating at that point in time. And it's also why, there's some conditions like binge eating disorder and stuff that are treated with stimulants, the same medications that they use for ADHD, actually.
mm,
Like Vyvanse, for example, they use it to treat binge eating disorder. And the reason why is that it increases norepinephrine, which is adrenaline,
yeah,
and obviously it speeds your system up. And as a result, you get a suppression of appetite. So the answer to your question is I've never really used it or like taught it to
yeah,
people for that reason. But if we kind of bring it back and honor the laws of the nervous system and how that affects body chemistry, then faster breathing and putting yourself into a more stimulated state would temporarily reduce appetite. And I
yeah,
would
yeah.
assume that it would sort of suppress ghrelin as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the reason why I asked that question is because when we were going through a modality, I think we were doing the fast breathing at your event, and I was quite
Mhm.
hungry at the time. And as soon as we finished um the breathing, I looked I was like, what the fuck is it? Like my hunger's just completely dissipated. And then it got me
Mm.
thinking about the chemicals and then ghrelin and
Yeah.
norepinephrine, which get released. So I thought I'd ask you to see if you've got any. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's where that question came from.
Yeah.
So let's talk business, okay? So you started your business not too long ago. So if there was three things that you wish you knew now at the start of your business, what would they be?
The first one and the most important one is ask yourself who, not how. The amount of times that I have put my effort into things that are not really in my zone of genius and spun the wheels on them for longer than I needed to is ridiculous. And in the last few months in business, my mindset has definitely shifted. And don't get me wrong, like when you first start a business, you're basically doing all of it because you don't have the resources yet to hire people and bring people in and do that stuff. So there is a period where if you don't have the capital, you will be doing a lot. But as you get some runs on the board and you start to build, I guess, some cash flow, then the first thing that you should be asking yourself is, what are the things that are going to move the needle in my business? For us,
Mm,
it was like, okay, sales, marketing, things like that. And we were like, well, who, not how? Because my genius is teaching, my genius is presenting, my genius is creating and being more of a visionary for my company rather than being in operations and finance and all these things. So
mm,
who can I put in there who's going to, as a result, me paying them 3x, 4x what I pay them in our business and ultimately free me up to be able to do more of what I love and more income producing activity. Um,
yeah.
the second thing would be there's so many things that I've learned in the last few months. What would the second thing be? Who, not how? I think you also don't have to work super hard to be paid well. Something that I've really landed in of late is that I very much subscribe to the belief that you had to grind stupid amounts of hours in your business in order to be paid well for it and in order to be successful. And when I was in those like states and really, I guess, subscribing to that belief, I missed out on a lot in my life too. I missed out on a lot of the precious things in my life, like family time and, just having fun, enjoying your life. And so there are ways for you to design your business model so that you can design it with freedom in mind. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be perfect in the way of work-life balance. I don't really believe that exists. Um, there's going to be times where you have to push harder. There's going to be times where you don't, but you can design your business with freedom in mind. I moved away from the one-on-one coaching primarily because it just took up so much of my time.
Yeah.
And now we have programs where it's one to many. We teach one to many. And to be honest, Lewis, like most of our company's money is made in 6 weekends of a year.
Yeah.
We have 6 trainings, and that's the way we wanted to design it. So you don't hard work doesn't necessarily equate to more success financially. You
Yeah.
have to work smarter, and that sort of ties into the who, not how.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last thing with business, actually, I spoke into this yesterday on my stories. Um, More people have to have the nuts to go out there and try something for themselves, because I've spoke to a lot of people and I know a lot of people that take the more conservative route with, I'm going to get a job because it's safe and it's secure. And I think it's an illusion, because these are the same people that can be let go, replaced, made redundant. And, then you have to go out and find a new job. And so my question would be like, are you really that safe in your job per se? And if you're working a job that you don't really enjoy and you're not loving it, and you're waking up and it's Groundhog Day, but you're only doing it for security per se,
Mhm.
do you really have that?
Yeah, no, I
Is
get,
it
I, I
really
get you.
there?
Yeah, it's like short-term gains for like zero output and zero
Yeah,
longevity, right? So it's like money
yeah,
right now instead of money later. Now,
that's
I don't
right.
know about you, but I would prefer money later on
Yeah,
and not have the constant injection, you know?
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
which I kind of feel a bit hypocritical because I've got a full-time job, but I'm also doing other things on the side, which give me more passion. Yeah, what does the full-time job do? It provides a bit of financial stability, which is what I need right now whenever I start a business or whatever, which is great. But I fully intend to leave that, and
Yeah,
if
and
people
and for
just get
and for
stuck.
most and for most people, like that's a great way to go. Like when we bring people into our world, we don't advocate for like just burn the boats and quit your job right now. But when you see people add something into their life and start working on it on the side that they're really passionate about, it can, one, make work that you're doing just for that financial security feel a lot more meaningful because it's supporting something else. And
Yeah,
two, you're building something that you're passionate about. And at the end of the day, like the world runs on companies and businesses. So you can either be paid to build someone else's company or business, or you can build your own.
yeah,
And
so
either way
good.
is okay. Either way is okay. It's also a strength to go, well, if you have no desire to run the risk of entrepreneurship, that's cool too. Like
Yeah.
it's a strength to admit that to yourself.
Oh, for sure. And like, do you know what? Some people are actually happy in their 9 to 5 job. They really enjoy what they're
Yeah.
doing, and there's absolutely
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And there is
And
nothing
they
wrong with it as long as you're fulfilled.
exactly. And I'm sure they do feel fulfilled. It's the people
Yeah.
that have that and then start complaining about it, although they still enjoy their job, but they complain about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you're complaining about your job and do something about it, like yes, it's scary, but stop complaining.
But so it's like, to me, it's also scary staying in a job for roughly 90,000 hours of your life that you don't even like.
Yeah, literally being surrounded by people who you don't like are negative, like that's gonna impact your health. Have negative people
All
around you.
parts of your life. All parts of your life.
Gosh.
Yeah.
All right, so as a coach, do you feel like
Yep.
it's difficult to live up to your online persona but in private?
Hmm. Oh, this is such a good question. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, at any given time, we are different people in different environments. That's just truth. We're humans. So who we are with our partner is who we are with our mates, we're different at work. We kind of have, although we're the same human, I'm the same human all around, I have these different, I guess, roles that I have to slot into. I wouldn't parent my two young children the way I talk to the boys. Like I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so I have to change roles. So it is hard because as a coach, educator on the outside, you're always putting forth this version of yourself that you're there to inspire, you're there to educate, you're there to uplift and hold people to a higher standard. And the hardest part about being a coach, and I've battled with this over the years, is when you have those moments of weakness behind closed doors, or you have those moments where you feel like you're not really growing at all, or if anyone saw this side of you when you're dysregulated, because like the breath work, dude, like you should be regulated all the time. Fuck no. That's like that could not be further from the truth. And instead of hiding that, I've really owned it. And I'll often say it to people like, the reason why I do this is because I didn't land here as some chilled out, zened out yogi. It's actually a daily thing for me to work on because I've had mental health struggles. I've had a lot of trauma. I've had dysregulation. I still struggle with it sometimes, but that's why this is so important to me. And that's why it's really important for me to be teaching it and putting it forth to people so that they can have it too for themselves, for their families, for their friends. So it can be hard. It can be really hard, but I think you just have to be honest with yourself if you're a coach and go, you're still a human being. Like you're not going to have it all together all the time.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
I get that. Do you know what's funny? I've asked every single coach that question, and I've had so many different responses. Some people
Yeah.
say yes, some
Interesting.
people say no. Like, it's really like I love that question because it really cuts to the core of people's like
Yeah.
foundations, and it's really difficult to like. I've been in the space. Well, I've been in the coaching space for like over a decade, and when I was
Yeah.
younger, I really felt like it was hard to live up to my online persona. So like, I wouldn't go out in my small hometown out drinking because I was a personal trainer. I wanted to be the vision of health. So I essentially ostracized myself
Yeah.
to them because I thought if I did, I would then get judged and it would affect my business.
Yeah.
That part of that might be true, but then part of it's like, did I really miss out on all those nights out with the boys, like just for the sake of being
Yeah.
scared of being judged
Yeah.
for that,
Absolutely.
you know?
And I think, like something that stands out for me is like the topic of congruency. Like it's really important for me as a coach to be congruent. And, part of being congruent as a human is being honest and transparent that there are days where you are not that tip top coach that people see online sometimes.
Mhm.
Congruency is accepting that you're a human and you flow through different states and you flow through different experiences in life and different challenges. And as those things present themselves, they will challenge you, they'll expose parts of you that are in your shadows. And I honestly believe that as a coach, it's so important to show people that they need relatability. People need to know that they can relate to someone.
Yeah.
It's not that there's this unattainable thing that they're working with, this unattainable version of someone that they can never reach. It's not helpful.
Mm. Yeah, I think that was the problem with social media, like when it first started booming, I guess, maybe before COVID hit, where
Yeah.
everybody was seeing these influencers online, like trying to really live up to those pedestals, whereas in real
Yeah.
life, those people were probably the most miserable, you know? So
100%.
yeah, it's super interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, Chris Payten, thank you so much, brother, for coming on. Appreciate your work. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. It's been great. Easiest place is Instagram. I'm most active there. So just at Chris Payton with a underscore at the end. Um, yeah, that's basically the best channel. Everything else stems out from there.
Cool, sounds good, mate. All right, thank you so much.
All good, my man.
Peace, bro.